This is the evaluation for coursework 2 for animation. So my original idea was to create, play around with NHair and XGen within Maya. I got the idea from one of my dogs, Dexter. This video sort of wanted me to play around with physics with hair. Even inspiration from The Last of Us, Trico. Seeing how the hair reacts to water, feathers as well was a keen factor in this project. This is what I was anchoring my assignment around my project. This is what I want to focus on. So, to create a hybrid of creature, dogs, birds, play around that. My mood board, sort of get inspiration of the two creatures, sort of concept. The rough ZBrush model of this as well, sort of very similar to Trico as you see the inspiration. Now I play with XGen with Maya. I've got a sphere. I just applied XGen, sort of played around the physics as well, as you see, from heavy amount of hair to not so much in between. It's even the little tiny curves to play with. Also create the feathers as well with Autronics. Unfortunately couldn't use this because I wasn't able to save my files, but these are the tutorial I followed to sort of create these. Play with end particles, just play with water as well, sort of get a basic understanding of it. It's all mine. Then NHair and nucleus. This is great because it has the physics built in with NHair, and this would prove very helpful for my project. And then some design, and then Houdini, the Zootopia created this sort of hair physics as well. It's pretty good. But unfortunately, this is not how my final project went. My CG object, as I'm bring up now, this little creature here, is the model I created, and NHair would not apply for this. I think the model was too small. But the reason for being so small is because they had to match up with the Nuke camera that was imported into this. So when I applied hair, I just got straight up errors. There was, as I'll show you right now, just this is all errors, and I wasn't able to bring the curves down to a reasonable size. So when I go to render, it was a mess. Sorry, that's the alpha. It was a mess. It was unusable at this point. I didn't know what I was stuck. Didn't know what to do. I emailed my lecturer Ryan to see if he can sort of help me with this issue I had, and the forum he helped the NHair model. I created this, as I'll bring up in my UV maps. I created another UV map to test this out. As you can see when I go to UV maps, NHair, my original. This still didn't work. I even found another form where it says to create this another layer, then duplicate the model, and then delete that. But that wouldn't render properly. Kept render my object as invisible. So instead of sitting here and going for the process and trying to figure out how to do this, how to fix it, I sort of even go through so many forums. I sort of reworked my assignment to be more to sort of what I want to do in the future, where I see myself in the industry after my degree. And I looked back at both of my visual effects projects, and I kept looking, so what was the areas that I found in VFX 1 with the hammer and visual effects 2 with my composite. A lot of the issues was render passes, and I never really had alpha for my first visual effects, so I looked into this and I went through each render pass I needed. Each one is shown here in this little project, this little window here. Render pass. These are all the passes I need. So I've got the alpha, I've got the albedo, I've got the shadow pass, light pass, reflection pass. These are like out passes I need to composite within Nuke, which really helped like create a better understanding for myself. Yeah, as well as the CG model. We've got UV maps. I maybe have a better understanding of how to create UV map and use one like that, and to get a better understanding of Maya's hyper shader with. Sorry, let's get again. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong unit. Yeah, so create a better understanding of textures, on how to actually composite them properly within Maya and Arnold. So here you've got the body texture, the skin that I've created, and the teeth, both row of teeth within this. Oops, didn't say that. Yeah, this is how we have a better understanding of how to do this. This is like helped me a lot for this process. Even Stefan helped me how to do hyper shader for my body, and I sort of learned from him to how to apply it for myself in this project as well as my visual effects project. But as I said, I reworked my project to do more compositing based, more 2D composite based at that, and visual effects based, and different pipelines. So like Match Move, we've got the ground here that really helped me understand how to do this, as well as getting objects within this project, within the scene. This is a laptop, this is a keyboard, as I'll show you in a bit what it looks like. This, and then yeah, to get all these to match up so the shadows reflect on my model. And this also helps me understand lighting, like, which I never really thought about before until a couple of days ago, talking to Ryan, that I figured out how to imitate lighting from my scene. I'll show you my background plate actually to make a better understanding. This is the background plate I shot. As you see, there's lights. There's lights here. As you see, the keyboard, the laptop I was just talking about. The lights here, here, and right at the end. This really helps me imitate my background plate. Before I even had implement my HDI, this is to get the reflections and the shadow passes off my model. This really helps, like, get better of the pipeline. There's a picture of my model as well, and there's the reference of my model. So I watched Hellboy, Golden Army, just at random, saw that, and originally, as you can see, my model with the eye, I wanted to, like, oh wait, this looks more fun to do with teeth. I don't know why, just in my head it made more sense for me. Nuke, talking about Nuke, to help me better understand Match Move, I placed 3D objects as like sort of, oh, this is here, and this is the ground, and this is the bottom bit of the ground, and the corners as well. This helped me sort of figure out how to do that when Match Moving, as when I was doing research for this. As talking about the UV maps, and then the ground. Um, when learning how to match move, whoops, don't want to zoom in so much, reset this. I'll just get the image up from my files. When learning how to match move, it sort of taught me of why to ground, it's best to have a grounded track. It's grounded, I've got the older one here. So not ground, so this is before I ground track, you can see here the lights as well on the end final bit. I imported that into Maya, just like play around with it, and then found it very difficult to set up my ground planes and that, and didn't really understand why, because in my previous Visual Effects 2 I applied the same logic there of, oh, the camera's not moving, I don't need to ground it. That's not the case. I was like, why? Well, the camera is moving, so why did I apply that? I don't know. But as you can see, when I bring up this image, this is much more usable plane. You see it's all more or less lined up to the way I want it to be. Through beginning, which you can see right there, the cube, right to the end. As you can see here, the little light. This really helped me place this along. As you can see, image here, here. They're almost the same. The minor changes in Maya that I had to do to get officially lined up with the camera. This is the same. This helps you learn that part of visual effects. And also, when in my previous projects, my head, we applied 2D motion blur within Nuke. Because I didn't have the brain pass, I didn't know Maya had a built-in motion blur. So I applied the same thing within Nuke. And it was a fun process. It was good to get an understanding of how to actually do this. And it didn't really work. As you can see, it glitches. The shadow there, I don't know if you saw that, let's go back. It's black dark outline. Even changing the center point for motion blur, this never really helped at all. It didn't help at all. Never understood why this happened. And there as well, there was no need for this flicker here, but it happened. For some unknown reason it happened. It was stretching my CG object. See, the flickers at the end is unusable. Oops, that's what I'm moving. So, do some research, find YouTube clips to see if Maya had this, and it did. It was under their settings, and it was here. The same files, when I bring up my Nuke files at the end. Hello. As said in the previous video, I said I would be recording in my new experience. Now, applying my new experience has been like from the bare minimum for the start of this year, this like whole term, to being like I'd say I have a good grasp, about good understanding of NuCX, not sound egotistical. To Yeah, so I was talking to Ryan, my course leader, um, feeling like I haven't done enough work for this assignment, getting really overwhelmed by this, because I found the nuke side just easy, but feeling like that was a bad thing. Doing like changing my idea from hair to more composite inside, match moving, scene setup, lights, animation, for instance, um, with the match moving to sort of integrate with each other. It told me not to worry about that, and not really realising that it should be easier now because I've done two assignments in this project to quite a high level, especially my second one, so I shouldn't have to worry about this. But anyway, the process of the nuke side. Now I found this difficult to begin with, but easy as it got along. I reminded myself how to composite CG. That was the first assignment, and I'll go through this. So here's my background plate. I applied a sharpen to my background plate. This will help the camera track, and a grade, because this is quite hard to track with this, like the loss of information here, and especially the end. It sort of outlines all the lights that I need, which really helps because opening these tracks here, that's a very good track, like 98, it's the one I went with. The little nodes less than I would like, but hey, that's the way the beast is. And then we've got this track. Let's quickly close down this. This is the track I went with. It's got errors here and there, but there's way more to use. Here, for instance, applying a reference CG, a little tinker here and there, which I'll show you in a sec, which my final one was being. Then there's this one. Now, this is my first one. I did without the sharpen, without the grade. -1, unusable. Like, you can't use this. You could tell by the red scratching. This is a bad camera track, and it's just not working the way I want it to. It's annoyingly so. But obviously, they're high error. You just can't use it. It's unusable. But after applying all of that, all the sharpen, the grade, the lens distortion as well to help CG, this ended up my final one. Low tracking points, a low solve error, easy to apply CG where I need it to be as reference. A very, like even here, a very good solve. A usable one as well, with long here, long errors here, long tail as well, so less slippage as well for CG, which I learnt from this project. The longer these are, the less the CG will slip around and move around, which is quite useful for a match moving project. So after doing the camera track, I applied the cubes, the camera here. I don't know why I flipped it there. Here. This is my 3D world per se. Yeah, this is what it looks like without the background plate, and this is what it would look like in Maya as well, with all the nodes and everything as well. And then we have the CG, as I'll show you right now. Sorry, it's not CG, the references, the reference points for match moving. Cubes here. Yep. Showing who's doing that? Where it's giving a good reference in Maya of where bits should be. So the top bit of the keyboard to the very bottom, the sphere as well, because that's one CG object is quite circle-ish, so where to place it. So when I import into Maya, into Nuke, I mean, it gives you great reference points as well. Little points here throughout the corner as well, so the sphere could sort of bend around, and where to place my CG. Yeah, this really helped. Really helped move my project along. Even like these ones here, where my friend asked me why there. These helped setting up the scene, basic geometry in Maya, and applying texture, and just make sure you don't render them pass out, and to set up the scene in Maya, which is really good. So after that, you bring it into Maya, do some test renders, as I'll show you right here. So I have them at certain frames, frame 1, different lighting, so it's not bad lighting, it's too much gloss, which that's my model's fault, so I have to adjust that in Maya, which I did. This one with the motion blur test, so I want to see the highest point in my comp of where, where it would be. So when my ball bounces, that's where the highest motion blur will be, as you can see here. These all just like give me a point of reference of what it would look like. It's not a good file. It's EXR, but there's no render pass in this either. It doesn't look that amazing because it took a long time to render. But as you come over here, this over here is where I shuffle out all the nodes. So here's my footage, my CG I mean, and then here's one render pass, my diffuse, indirect, my specular, my indirect pass, my indirect specular, my shadow map pass, and my diffuse direct. These are passes I mainly need. I rated more is better than less. So if I go into here, I can have all these at the alpha, which you don't really need to. You don't really need that as a pass per se, because if you come over here, come and view your footage, you should just press A. Just create this alpha, which Billy taught me is like you always should have alpha in any CG. With my first assignment, I didn't have an alpha, so it's quite hard to work with, but it did work in the end. And then my second CG object, I create alphas for all of them, which taught me a lot. Here's your 2D camera track in